Hi, and welcome to the Left Turn Show. My name is Ajoke Yusuf, your host. Thanks for the likes, shares, comments, and subscribing to this channel. If you're new here, Left Turn is where we dive into captivating stories of African trailblazers who have mastered life unexpected twists from childhood dreams to remarkable achievement. Today I have on the show a wonderful, someone I really look up to, a very remarkable individual. She is the country manager of TravelStart Nigeria, an African leading online travel agency. Prior to this role, she served as TravelStart commercial manager for 4 years. Bukky has numerous awards and more than a decade of marketing experience from prestigious establishments. She worked for Ogilvy and Meta, JB Morgan Chase and Co., and Flight Time Promotions. She has a Bachelor of Business Administration from George Washington University and an MBA from Yale School of Management. She enjoys playing tennis and pretends to go to gym. And with me today is none other but Bukky Akomolafe. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. It's been busy for you. Well, thanks for taking out time to be on the show today. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's dive into it. So, we'd like to know what your childhood was like. What's the earliest memories of your childhood? What do you think? What was it like generally for you growing up as a child? What did you want to be? And what influenced that decision? So there's this popular thing of, I want to either be a medical doctor, a lawyer, or what's the third one again?
Engineer, right?
Yeah. The in thing and all that. Mm-hmm. And some of us were influenced by either parents or we saw someone growing up. So we'd like to hear what your childhood basically was like. Are you a stubborn child?
Is my mother watching?
No, I don't think she is.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so I would say that I had a wonderful childhood. My parents were amazing. My dad was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
My mom worked at NNPC when I was growing up.
Right.
I have 2 older siblings and a younger brother. And we just grew up in like what I would call like a large communal estate, like with our cousins and like going to Ife like in December. It was just a very like what I would call like a very loving household.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that. And then when I was in primary school, we had this drama club. Uncle E's drama club. You got Uncle E, Uncle E's drama club. And I really took to that as an activity. I really, really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that so much that, I think when we got to primary 5 or 4 or 5 or maybe, no, definitely 4 or 5, we had an opportunity to shoot a movie.
Wow.
And we did. So, some of my classmates and I, we shot a movie, African Moonlight Tales.
Wow.
I ended up being nominated for an award for that. It was my first time being awarded for like anything as like a child actress. And I really just loved acting. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was great. And then when I moved on to QC, I went to QC for a year, Queen's College at Yaba. I went to QC for a year. And I wanted to continue sort of like my acting pursuits. There weren't as many opportunities when you get to secondary school for that. I mean, QC definitely did have opportunities. But like I wanted more. And at that time, the wave of people sending their kids for high school in the UK was happening. So I had about 3 or 4 of my friends who had gone. I saw an opportunity to negotiate with my parents, specifically my father, plus my mother. I was on a trip with my other sister. I saw an opportunity, I took it, and that's how I actually ended up in boarding school in England.
Wow.
And part of that was acting. Like I really wanted to be an actress, and I took acting quite seriously, pretty much up onto my GCSEs. I actually took it as a GCSE course, and then I forgot that I was an African child. And then specifically, I forgot I was a Nigerian child. Yeah. And then more specifically, I forgot I was a Yoruba child. So I made the great mistake of feeling like, I could, just open up and overtalk. So it's not share, right? Because I have a wonderful relationship with my parents. You share things with them and they guide you and they advise you. I called it specifically overtalking. So I overtalked and I told my mother that, I was going to go to acting school in England if I stayed for university. And my mother was very like calm, poker face. She said, okay. I actually think she first said, And then I repeated myself, and then she was like, okay. Needless to say, when I came home for that summer, I did not return to the UK. I did not return. My mother, it's only probably about 5 years ago or 6 years ago that I actually found out the true story of what
happened
that she plotted when she realized that her daughter was going to go to acting school. I was thinking, all of this money we have spent, I don't think so. I don't think this is the plan that we talked about. I think Morocco was, part of it. And so, when I came home, I then did a gap year and then moved to the States with my sisters, where I then went to the George Washington University, which ironically is a school that all of my siblings went to in DC. I still pursued acting there. And so actually my major was a bachelor's of business administration with a concentration in marketing and finance. And then I had a secondary degree in theater studies. And the reason it went from a double major, so it would have been the business degree and the drama degree, was because when I got to my third year of university, all of the classes that I had been looking forward to take the first 2 years, they cancelled. The school no longer offered them. And I was like, I didn't think that I was an actress for film. I thought I was an actress for theater. Actually, sorry, the reverse. I thought I was an actress for film, not an actress for theater. But then they canceled all of those classes. And then the passion just kind of dwindled. And at that same time, ironically, I found this wonderful course called marketing. Which for those who are in marketing and also like theater, you realize that you're playing multiple hats. You're playing multiple consumers. You're trying to understand what your consumer is thinking, how they're behaving, and then creating products for them or creating communication for them to purchase that product. And so it actually worked out quite well that it was sort of a nice, osmosis from one degree into another. At that same time, I thought I wanted to be an investment banker. I had a wonderful internship with Renaissance Capital, and I had a wonderful boss. I will forever be grateful to my manager at that time of my internship, who realized that my strength was not valuation. Which, if you know anything about IBDE, it's all valuation. And realized that my strength was in telling the story and helping the client tell the story and craft the story. And, the look of, the material that would go to the client. And I think one day he was just like, that your strength is like in this. Like, I would ask them like the difference in colors. I would show them two blues. They were very completely different blues to me. And I would show them two blues and they would be like,
explain why the two blues.
They would be like, blue, what's wrong with you? I'm like, no, there's a difference. Which one do you think the client would really like? And they're like, Auntie, where is your valuation? And so I'm very grateful to him because, in that internship, he really taught me about what I was good at and what I wasn't good at. And then gave me advice at the end of the internship. I said, Auntie, go and focus on your second degree, which is marketing, which you really didn't take seriously. Go and focus on that. I think that's where your strength is. And that's actually, I did that when I went back to school for my fourth and last year. And that's actually how I ended up at Ogofe.
This is really nice. It's always good to have someone that actually discovered that talent in you. I think it's aligning from you wanting to be an actress into looking at pictures or making it appealing to people. I think I can see a connection there. All right, let me go straight to my question. You left Nigeria at a very young age.
Yes.
What was that like for you? Would you say that actually changed your trajectory of your career and life in general? Would you say that actually changed your rather shaped what you are doing today?
Yes. So I think something that's really interesting about my background is that I specifically am the one that asked to go. My parents didn't say that I got to a specific age and it was time for me to go. I was the one that asked to go. And I asked to go because I thought I was going to be an actress. Right. So I saw this direct line between becoming an actress and studying for it at a higher level outside of the country. And I was only 9 or 10. My parents will tell you that I've always been bold. I've always sort of seen something and gone after it. And so I think it was just a lot of that happening at that age, because I saw it I saw the direct line, and I knew that for me to do that, I needed to be out of the country. So I asked to go. So for me, it was a wonderful experience. Because I fundamentally asked to go. Was it hard in terms of like you miss your family and you miss your parents? Absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't say that I underestimated, because again, I had a phenomenal time.
Yep.
But there were moments where, of course, like for me, the hardest moment was always getting to the airport for drop off. Where my mom would take me to the airport, and the goodbyes were always the hardest. But once I made it through security, I forgot that in fact, my mother had this joke that I always had malaria the day of travel. Unfailingly, I would have malaria. She said the first 2 times she followed me, she was like, I really have malaria, take her to the doctor. She said by the 3rd time, she was like, no, let's go to the airport first. We'll see if the malaria continues. And of course, as soon as I made it through security, no malaria, no cold, no nothing, I was totally fine. So I think that those sort of were the hardest moments where, you know, the things that you enjoy doing and the things, your comfort zone, being in your comfort zone, sometimes quite difficult to come out of. In terms of changing the trajectory of my life, I think my mother is probably the one who I would credit with really guiding and stewarding the trajectory of my life, because I think I could be an actress. I think I'd be a wonderful actress. But then I've also really enjoyed everything that I've done so far. I wouldn't replace anything. So yeah.
It's amazing. Really amazing to hear that your mom was no wonder you were asking if she was going to watch the show. All right. My next question is, do you think that your early experience of the world influenced your decision to make to go into lifestyle traveling and marketing? Like, did you think that your exposure of the world, studying abroad,
absolutely not?
Okay.
One of the things about me that I'm very clear about is that I like an interesting problem. So long as the problem is interesting, I will go and do it. When I left the George Washington University, I wanted to move back to Nigeria. Again, that comfort. So spending the year before I went to school for the 4 years I just realized, gosh, there's just so much about Nigeria that I don't know. And I really just enjoyed being home. And so I was like, I'm going to move home. And my mother said, not on your life. I want you to work and get some experience, and then you can come home. So like any good African, Yoruba, Nigerian, African child that listens, I applied to one job. Because then she won't be able to say that I was rude. And I didn't follow instructions. So I applied to one job.
Obedient child.
And exactly. And the one job I now got it. And by the way, I got it in a recession. In a recession when they weren't giving international students jobs. So I was like, most of my classmates that were even Americans didn't get jobs. I had classmates who got jobs. And then, you know, the Barclays crash happened, and then they lost their job. So I was like, me, international from Nigeria with my long name, it's not going to happen. And as God would have it, he was like, yeah, you go. And that's actually how I ended up at Ogilvy. Ogilvy was the only company that I really liked. Because again, I mentioned that I went back for senior year, focused on my marketing. I had a marketing professor who said everybody should apply for this job. It's really good. And when I found out everything that they did, I was like, oh my goodness, if there was a company that I was going to stay in America for, this would be the company.
I see.
And so I just thoroughly enjoyed that. So for me, it's not, I fell into marketing.
Okay.
Right? The only thought that I had that I was chasing and pursuing was acting. And when I went back to school for acting, the classes that I wanted to take didn't happen. Then, you know, then I was like, oh, finance seems quite good because I actually do have a bit of a mathematical mind. This could work quite well. And then I had somebody else again and again, I did my internship in Nigeria. So I worked at Renaissance Capital in Lagos. So it's not like I worked at it in a different country. I worked at it in Lagos. And my manager at that time then said, I think you should focus on this marketing. I did. I went back to school, applied for this one job in marketing, and like completely fell in love with this entire space, which I think that in Nigeria, we don't necessarily do as well. And I'll tell you why I say that. Not that the quality of work is not as good. The quality of work there's some campaigns that are just absolutely amazing and spot on.
Yeah.
But when I worked in marketing in the US, you don't know who the marketing company is. Like your mass consumer doesn't know who they are. They can't say, oh, it's Ogilvy that did that, or it's DDB that did that, or this or that. No, it's not about that. It's about the client first. It's not about me as an individual being in the forefront. It's about my client and my client's product and what my client is selling. I think sometimes in Nigeria we get that a bit wrong, where people think that it's them first before the client and the product. And I think for me, as from a form of training, I really, really, really enjoy it because it then allows me to work. I can work on any product. I mean, I've worked in the most boring that's not a word, of things, to even products that like ethically I don't agree with, right? But they force you and they teach you, because it's a methodology that you're learning. How do you sell to a customer? Who is your target audience? What does your target audience want? You know, you're constantly learning those things. And sometimes some of the best ways to learn that methodology really well is to work on a product that you hate. You absolutely hate. And you're like, I would never use this. I am not the consumer for this. And I think that's why, you know, the FMCG brands do so well as training schools, because if you come there and you say, oh, I want to do makeup, they were like, great, go and sell dog food. And you're like, what? I don't like dog food. I don't even have a dog. Right? But the point is, it's the methodology.
If you can sell the dog food.
Then the product that you love, you will sell so much better.
All right. Can you share some early influences or experience that sparks your interest in marketing? Like, what's that thing that said that this is it?
Yeah. So I think it's two specific things. One, I took a consumer behavior class in college.
Okay.
And I got 100% on the test. I was confused. I didn't know people, I had heard of people doing that thing before. I didn't know I was one of them. So I remember I went to my professors, the teaching hours after, and I went there and I said, are you sure? Because she was like, what? And I was like, no, I mean, I actually think I actually enjoy this subject, but I'm actually a bit confused. I mean, I know that I'm the one that took it, but help me through, what can you do with this type of course? I've never gotten 100% on a test, a quiz, an exam before.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, even in that class, consistently got over 100. I was confused. So I think that's sort of the first thing that influenced me, was taking a course that I studied for. And with natural ability and with studying, I got 100%. And I was like, what is this class? Let's investigate what one can do with this class. Secondly was, you know, I mentioned I thought I was going to go into finance. And this manager who basically saw what my strengths were and told me to play to my strengths. So when I went back to school, I then took an advertising course, which is 2 semesters, and it ends up in a competition. So you spend basically 8 months crafting a campaign to then present at a competition with other schools, and then you go to something called nationals. That in itself, that's why I went back to methodology. What are you doing? All of that stuff, I think definitely helps. So I would say that those are sort of the 2 core examples that really sort of got me on this marketing path.
That's amazing. And you're doing very great at it.
Thank you.
I recently saw the video on the Travel Stats page, the one there dancing. I was like, I like the fact that there was this connect with what is happening and selling the brand. That was really amazing. I see that a lot with Travel Stats.
Yeah. So I think for us as a brand, Travel Start, our goal is to be your friend. We are your travel agent friend. And not even we don't even want you to call us a travel agent. We really want you to think of us as your friend who likes to travel a lot and can hook you up with really great discounts or advice or really great technology. You know, our value proposition is all around connecting our customers from point A to point B, back to A, if they're no jackway, and then allowing them to book that anywhere, anytime with ease. Stress-free, convenient. Nigeria is hard.
Yes, so.
And Lagos, to some degree, is harder when you're on the road for such a long time. So sometimes people, with a lot of the commerce, you just need to get away. And so we want to be that friend that you come to, and can hang out with. Or at least ask for advice.
Sweet.
Yeah,
that's sweet. That sounds so good. All right. So what made you make the decision to come back to Nigeria? And if you have the power to go back to the time you made that decision to come back to Nigeria, is there anything you would have done differently? Because it's a really big decision, like you mentioned. Growing up in school, it was that moment that everybody in your class was just going. I think we're back to that time again where people are just applying. So my question is, what exactly influenced that decision? And if you have the power to go back, would you want to?
Yes. So for me, let me start with the second one and then I'll answer the first one. So if I had a chance to go back, and decide whether I wanted to move back to Nigeria or not. Would I do it again?
Mm-hmm.
For me, the answer is I would absolutely do it. Being in Nigeria, living in Nigeria had always been in my plan. You know, even when I went to boarding school, I would come home at least twice a year. When I moved to the US, I would come home twice a year. After I finished from university, I wanted to come back home. You know, then I went and got my MBA, and like, after I graduated from my MBA at Yale, I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself 4 years, because when I joined JP Morgan Chase & Co., I joined the Chase Leadership Program.
Yeah.
And in the Chase Leadership Program, it's basically a 2-year track. And then when you come out of the 2 years, you know, you then do some more stuff in the market. So I was like, okay, this for me feels like a 4-year plan. Once that 4 years is over, then I will move back to Nigeria. And I had discussed that plan very deeply with my dad. I had said, okay, you know, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. And we both agreed. And we're like, okay, great. High five. Immediately I graduated from school. So I graduated from Yale in 2014 in July. My dad passed in September of that year. I had started at Chase maybe in New York in August. And it was just like, either at the beginning of August, I had started. So I had done a couple of weeks, and then he passed at the end of September. And I remember at that time, my 2 older sisters were pregnant. My younger brother was still in school. Someone needed to come home with my mom. So I asked the bank for a vacation, and they were wonderful, and they gave it to me. Because as we all know, grievance leave in companies is 3 days. Yeah. But if you are African, Nigeria, Yoruba, there's a lot of things that you have to coordinate. Yeah. So I came home with my mom for a month. And like, you know, after we finished that period, or that season, I will call it, of like, you know, burial, etc. And I went back. I was just like, I don't understand why I'm here. So the reason for being there, for doing the 4-year plan, and the person that I had discussed it with had just passed, and I was like, I don't even know at this point in time what I like. Like, is what I like what I think I like, or is what I like based off of what my dad and I had discussed? Remember, my dad is who I cornered to get me to go to boarding school in England, right? So me and him were...
It's very 5 and 6.
Yeah. So when that happened, I was kind of like, I don't even know if what I like is what I like. So for me, I think if I could go back and do anything again, I think he would still be alive today. You know, it just having the opportunity to bounce, you know, the idea of like, okay, my life and like my life decisions. Am I making the right decisions? Getting advice on very difficult, personal and professional areas, I think would be wonderful to have. Not having it has been a downer, but I think one of the at least amazing gifts that I feel like God gave me is the resonance of his voice still in my head, where like I still feel like I can hear him, but then I like, not in like a creepy way of like what I said. It's not what I said. But just more like the intuition of like, okay, I think like if I had a chance to discuss, I think this is what we said. And then what I would also say is, which is very, very, very interesting, the freedom to make my own decision and make my own mistakes. Because one of the things, and I'm a mom now, is that as a parent, you always want to protect your children.
I agree.
From every single mistake, because you can see how it goes. And I can see myself now in the way that I raise my son, that like, and then I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm so protective, but like, in being so protective, I'm not letting him try new things. I'm not letting him make mistakes. I'm not letting him know that if you climb that thing again and you jump down, you will fall and you hit his head. And his bet is, no, I will climb this thing, I will jump down, and I will not hit his head. Let's see who's right. And you have to allow that bet to happen. Because that's how he learns, and that's how he learns boundaries. And then, you know,
who wins most of the time?
So far, it's so funny. He's been the one winning.
I agree.
And it's actually, I mean, I'm so like flawed. I'm like, if you run like that, you fall. And then he's like, I'm running, I didn't fall. Then he'll turn around and be like,
oh, no.
Did I fall? And then I'm like,
you're also learning new things.
Yeah. And it's that freedom to try. And then, you know, it's also something that I hope that I can stoke really well in him, that, you know, whatever environment that he's in, he always knows that he has the freedom of choice to make his decisions.
That's beautiful. That's really great. So definitely you will not make a decision to, you still make this decision to stay and then have daddy back. I'm so sure he's proud of you because you've done so amazing. And I think I like what you talked about because I also lost my mom, right? We sometimes, because of the time we spent with them, we just hear these things. We could easily just hear those things. Of course, not in a creepy way. Not Bukky.
Exactly. No, there's no Karishika here. I'm just saying. I'm gonna look at the camera. I'm just saying that there's a natural intuition that comes that is not creepy. It's not gonna end you at church with deliverance or, in the mosque or anything. You just know. You just know that, I get you.
All right. That's very interesting. All right. Every career journey has its changes, challenges rather. Can you share a significant challenge you faced and how you overcome it?
I think this is a very interesting question, because I think as a leader, you're constantly faced with challenges. Some are big, some are small. How do you kind of know the difference? And I heard the CMO of MTN, and they had said this. They're like, look, once you work in one company as a leader, you kind of know how to bucket all of your problems. You're either going to have people problems, you're going to have external factor problems, you're going to have internal factor problems, you're going to have, if you work in a product company, a product problem, etc. It's pretty much the same bucket, right? But I would say the challenge that stretched me the most, was COVID. As I mentioned, I work at Travel Start, and Travel Start is Africa's largest online travel agency. And I think that within COVID, after hospitals, I think the most complex place was an airport.
Absolutely.
And then not only that, I think that prior to that, I think many people would have said airport workers were non-essential workers. But the amazing thing about COVID is, aside from there being no cars on the road, if you looked up in the sky, there were no planes.
Yeah.
There were no planes.
Yeah.
When I became country manager, which was August 2020, I'll never forget, because I was like, sorry, what am I country manager? Oh, there are no planes in the sky. Why me?
Like a dead company.
I said, what am I like? Right? I think the biggest lesson that I learned then is that as a leader, not only do you have a job to grow revenue significantly, but you've got to control your costs. I had a wonderful conversation with another colleague at an airline at that point in time, and he said, Bukky, congratulations, but I want to let you know that right now, at least for the next foreseeable future, there is absolutely nothing that is in your control. There is only one thing that is in your control, and that is cost. And you need to manage your cost as best as possible and keep your people together. And honestly, for me, like, that was just super eye-opening, because every time at least I found myself in a leadership position, it's always been on a focus of sales, grow revenue, do this, find new customers, etc. That was the first time, because of a huge macroeconomic factor, completely outside of even government's control, that it was like, literally, what you can control is literally how much you're spending every day. And that significantly stretched me even in terms of like possibilities. I got to learn parts of the business that I would not necessarily have had a chance to learn about, because, we were waiting for planes to go up in the air. I also learned that travel is one of those industries that's actually quite dictated by governments. But, because we've had, prior to COVID, I mean, the other significant thing before then was like 9/11. But, it's pretty steady stream. So, governments make their rules about entry and exit and the flow of people. But once you know what those rules are and airlines have their schedules for them, you're pretty much fine. Yeah. But with COVID, all of us, airline, travel agents, even Parliament or Senate, all of us are watching at the same time. So when they're announcing new laws about how, they want to manage flow of traffic of people, how many COVID tests that you have to take, we were being run by governments. Like, our industry was being run by governments. And what that then meant is that, I don't think I've watched CNN or BBC as much in my life as I did during COVID, because I'm like, they're making an announcement. You guys gonna say that. Are we on the red list? Are we on the red list? No. Okay, we made it again. Right? And then, you get to December 2020 and they're like, Nigeria is now on the red list. And you're like, oh my goodness, what does this mean? And then you essentially, because everybody's hearing the information at the same time, the airline, your customer is now calling you immediately after that announcement is made and saying, what's going to happen to my flight? I'm supposed to leave tomorrow. Okay, can you get me on tonight's flight? And you're like, how? There are no seats. There are even not enough planes to take the people that were supposed to leave. It was a very complicated scenario situation to manage. And that's why I said, after a hospital, I think an airport is the next most complex place.
I agree.
And I think that a lot of people, you only sort of see you going through security. There are so many other pieces that have to be in line for that one singular plane. To take off. And I had a sincere appreciation for myself and my colleagues during that time where, for me, travel agents are part of the essential workers. We're essential because if you couldn't get through to if you couldn't get through to the airline and your travel agent was trying to get through them for you, if your travel agent couldn't interpret some of the rules, it would even be difficult for you to understand it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And really our job during COVID was to just really try and interpret this scenario and what is happening and try to guide people as best as possible through it. I'm glad that period is over. Nigeria's had some other complex challenges, but I would say that one by far takes
global
the cake.
Challenge.
yeah, it takes the cake. Because Nigeria's problems are Nigeria's problem. We can
So it's global.
Well, we can understand it, right? But for me, just on a global level, like not being sure that somebody that I sold a ticket to the UK today, if that person will be able to board a plane, because at that point in time, Prime Minister Boris Johnson was going to have an announcement at 5 p.m. He sold a ticket at 2 p.m.
Wow. Yeah.
So very, very, very complex emotionally, mentally, physically. It was a real doozy, so to speak.
That's interesting. I hear you say something very profound. You talked about, and when you were talking about it, I could only just interpret it to why it is travel, the airspace. Aviation space is actually essential because you talked about how you have to interpret to your customers government rules. So it's just like doctor, you're taking your test results or your doctor and he has to break it down to understand. Why would you tell me I can't travel?
Absolutely.
Can you explain why I can't travel when I can see clearly on the news that this is happening? But you need to explain to me why I can't get into the next flight.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, you won the Future African Award in 2019. What other award have you bagged? I know there's a lot of awards there.
So yeah, I mean, I've had a few. I've been grateful and gracious. Yes, I have had a few. I'm grateful to God for the external validation that tells you that you are on the right path.
Yeah.
But I haven't counted. Sorry.
You lost count.
I like how you say I lost count. I like that humble brag. I lost count. I think that's one end. I think another end is that I'm very focused on doing my job and doing my job well. I think every day that a customer trusts us with their money to purchase a ticket is an award. It's an award of trust. It's an award that we're doing the right thing. We don't always get it right. I also tell my team I'm also the chief customer service officer. So if my customers aren't happy, then we're not going to get these external awards that to tell us that we're on the right path. We've been very fortunate as an organization to win one award 3 years in a row, which is from the World Traveler Awards, Nigeria's leading online travel agency. We've won that 3 years in a row back to back. And those, if you think about the last 3 years from COVID, back to back. Which again goes back to that customer. If your customer does not think that your product is good or that you're giving a really good service, then what award, please? What are we celebrating? And so it's not just that I've lost count, but it's also that I'm more focused on us doing a good job for our customer. I'm making sure that we're solving their actual problems.
And every ticket bought is an award.
It is. Every ticket bought is an award.
That's so inspiring. So your growth is short of nothing inspiring, right?
Thank you.
From Lucy to Travel Stars. As of today, what would you say is your greatest achievement?
What is my greatest achievement? I think I have a couple.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the rare millennial Gen Z millennial, people or employees who has been at the same company for 7 years.
Oh.
I've been at TravelStart for 7 years. I call myself a passionate employee. I'm a passionate entrepreneur, which means that I don't think I'm the kind of person that's going to start a business, but my goal is to help people who do start businesses, take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So I've had several. I think there's sort of two. There's one that's happening right now that I think is very cool, and the one that happened when I was commercial manager that I'm super proud of. So I'll talk about that one first. We had the opportunity with Air France KLM to sponsor, Nigeria's first bobsled team to the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Just being a part of history, like that was just amazing.
Olympics.
Like Nigeria, a hot country at the Winter Olympics, it gave me cool running vibes. And the ladies were amazing. It was the bobsled and skeleton team. And that was just amazing. Like the national pride that we had as an organization was amazing. Like we all gathered in our customer service room at that time, and we were at our smaller location, and we watched the ladies, slay. No, that's not. We watched them compete.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing to think that they got there because we did our job with our partners to get them there.
So amazing.
And that just give really, really good vibes. Really, really good vibes. And then the second one right now, that we're doing with Uber. So right now with Uber, we're partnering to ease, sort of the transportation burden and stress for customers. So everything in Nigeria is almost 200% increase year on year. People's salaries definitely have not increased at the same rate. Many, many problems that if we started listing them, we probably wouldn't need a show and probably need a part 2.
Yes.
But with our partner Uber, we just thought, what can we do that's within our control? We've got flights, they've got the cars going to the airport, and so we offer discounts there just to help people ease the burden. And the reason why it's important about easing the burden is I think what we all don't realize living in Lagos specifically and Abuja and really the rest of the country is you carry the stress on your body. And so anytime any brand person can alleviate a little bit of your stress, it, releases almost some form of endorphins or dopamine. It just makes you feel so much better. And that's just something really important that we wanted to do. We just really wanted to help people get a break. And take a break. And so for me, I think some of the things that I'm really proud about us at TravelStart is when we look at consumer trends and we align a campaign to fit that. And it fits seamlessly. The other things that we have lots of things that we've done solo. I love, when our employees are in videos because they want to be, not because we forced them to be, or we said that you must post or come and show me your phone, press post. No. Do you want to be, is this a brand that you stand behind? Are you proud of this brand? If you're proud of this brand, then you will proudly wear it on your chest like a Superman icon. And I think for me, like this is sort of, I guess, some of my proud moments.
Really proud. Really, really interesting. I like the fact that you talked about ease, right? You're just trying to understand what the economic and how best we can help people live their day-to-day life, because it's really been a bit difficult with the Jackpot syndrome, everything happening. Yeah. Well, Nigeria is definitely going to be a better place with the likes of this. What would you say about the partnership? Because I hear, what would you say in your career? Two things I want to ask. One is around, what would you advise people, especially for those that feel like, I want to start my business? Because you talked about you're okay to be an entrepreneur, not necessarily an entrepreneur.
I'm not.
Exactly. So, what would you want to advise people? And also, you talk about something about collaboration as well. Would you want to share more light also around the collaboration? What do you think about collaboration? Yeah.
So your first question which is if someone was starting a business, what would I advise them to do? I think the very first thing is, what problem are you trying to solve for your customer? If you don't know the problem that you're solving in one sentence, if you have to tell me in a paragraph, I know you don't know it. If you know it in one sentence and you just keep focused on that every single day, you are fine. Some people start businesses. I love people who start businesses because there's a passion, like there's a problem that they face. Yeah. And then they go start a business with that. But I also love people who start from I need money. What business can I do very, very
That
quickly
can bring the money.
that we can bring the money? But both of them will end in the same place, which is what problem for the customers are you trying to solve? Like, to get somebody's money from their wallet is very, very difficult.
I agree.
Then in Nigeria, most of our basic needs are around food, right? I read a stat that said, about 80% of Nigerians, and at least in the South, of their income is spent on food. 80%. So if you are a disposable good, or if you are a non-food item, you are fighting for 20%. So what problem are you solving? What problem are you solving? I gotta be very clear about that. If you know the problem that you're solving and you do that and you focus on that every single day, I think you'll get it. Whether you started as a passion or you started from your own life's basic needs, doesn't matter. What customer problem are you trying to solve? Then for the second one around collaboration, I love collaborations. I think everyone loves to quote, if you want to go far, go together. Or what is, I can't remember, but I think everybody knows it.
Go far, go alone.
Hey, there you go. So it's like collaborations are always no-brainers.
Yeah.
I love collaborations. I love collaborating with brands that have similar values, similar ethoses, similar understandings of what we're trying to do. I love those types of brands. Love. I think you can also get a collaboration wrong.
Yeah.
But everything is a learning. And I think for me and even for intrapreneurs, entrepreneurs, and everybody in between, learning, as long as you're learning, you'll be fine.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Learning. I hear learning. Of course, I think that what I get from you is that understand yourself. You don't have to necessarily be a CEO. You don't have to start your thing. You can actually work with someone and then do very well, do amazing well. Correct?
Absolutely. If I could add to that, I think a lot of people think that you become the CEO or the MD
by starting
overnight. No, there are core values that most of them have. A strong work ethic. They did the work before they got the role. Because, by the way, you do the work before you get the role.
Yeah, so
the role is just a stretch. The role is like, okay, you see that you can do
take the position
70% or maybe 60% of it. There's actually another 40% that we need to do.
Yeah.
And if you can do the 40%, go ahead. And you should try. And that's where you, as an employee, will then sort of get that additional stretch. But you gotta have a strong work ethic. And I think for me, like, regardless of what country I've been in, why I've been able to shine is that I just have a strong work ethic. Like, once I am committed and I have decided, I'm going after that. Yes, with a smile on my face, but I'm going after it. And I think that's really important. You need to, even as an employee, so I think everyone spends a lot of time talking about employers and entrepreneurs. I really like talking to employees because I'm one of them. Which is that if you want to continue to rise through the ranks of your organization, you got to continue to lean in, raise your hand for opportunities, the ones that you can, especially the ones that you don't think you can do, because you will learn.
Yeah.
You will learn. And if you are not there to only collect a paycheck, then raise your hand up for opportunities. Why? Because when the next pay cycle is coming up, they will remember all of the things that you contributed. You won't, like, for me, I'm a big fan of what I have done entering the room before me. And so I have also structured my life and access to the mentors that I have in that way, that people that can stand up for me when I'm not in the room.
Yeah.
But even if my mentor gets me into the room, if I get there and I don't do the work, it's such a bad and negative blowback on my mentor, the person that recommended me. So you've got to have the strong work ethic. And so for me, like, having a really strong work ethic has helped me get additional opportunities, has helped me, sort of gain, I don't want to call it awards, more momentum, more external validation, because people know that if they engage me, this is what they're going to get from Bukky.
Yeah.
And this is what they're going to get from me. And this is it. And I always tell my team, I said, the one I can do, I will tell you I can do. The one I cannot do, I will tell you I cannot do. And the one that I'm not sure about, I will like,
I can try.
Let me just noodle around with this in my head. I'll try. And let's see what comes up, because we're always learning.
Yeah.
And the minute you stop learning, it's a bit of a problem.
Oh, nice. how would you say an individual should approach having a innovative mindset, and how do you foster work culture and innovation within your team?
Okay, so I think to have an innovative mindset, you need to understand the problem.
Yeah.
Do you understand the problem? Do you understand what's driving the problem, as in the root cause of the problem? I'll give you an example. We can say that there's lots of cars on the road in Lagos and there's lots of traffic. But what is causing the traffic?
What's causing the traffic?
What is the root
problem?
cause of it? You can't say because, people are going to work. No, people are, well, yes, that's one, but people are always going to go to work. So, but what is causing it? What is causing it? You have to understand root cause of problems. You have to do a root cause analysis. Once you've done that, and by the way, a root cause analysis doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can literally just be you, a sheet of paper, and say, what are all of the reasons that I believe X is driving Y? Then once you understand what is all the X's that are driving the Y, as in the problem, then you start to say, okay, how do I solve each of these X's? An innovative mindset is basically just thinking about something in a different way. So if one of the ways to remove traffic from the road was to tell all the workers who start at 8 a.m. to leave their house at 6 a.m. and all the workers who start at 9 a.m. to leave at 7. So create a schedule. That's one way to solve it. It doesn't mean this is the way. It is one of the ways. So for me, my go-to is understand the problem, understand the drivers of the problem, and then come up with a list of solutions for it. Because it's rarely ever, in fact, my former boss used to say this, it's rarely ever one way to do something, but then one factor that will solve all of it. One of the things, even with your solutions, because then you also have to look at resources, is you definitely want to find the one solution that's going to take care of 80% of the problem.
Yeah.
You're not going to eradicate all of the problem, but you want to take care of 80% of the problems. It's I'll give you this example. Every time we hear that, in Nigeria, that the government is going to release, palliatives, and you hear the number, the numerical value, we were thinking, gosh, this is so small. How is this going to help anybody? Then on the flip side, you hear everybody's looking for daily 2K.
Yeah.
Then on the flip side, you hear that actually most people in Nigeria are living under $1 a day. So that value that the government is releasing is actually going to take care of 80% of it.
Yeah.
Solution, not every solution is for you.
I agree.
Again, so I think if you understand, the problem, the drivers of the problem, and then come up with a whole bunch of solutions, and then look for the solution that will solve 80% of the problems. And then most importantly, when you're doing the solutions, it's really quite key that you're thinking about things in a different way. Even if somebody suggests something that's really ridiculous, write it down. Don't say no to anything yet, because you want to read everything, and then maybe a combination of what you said and what you said. Actually, maybe there's another combination as well that could work. And that's literally sort of how innovation, in my view, happens. In terms of how I foster it at the office, I think at Travel Start, we do a really good job of basically saying to everyone and anyone, here's the problem. Oh yeah, go solve. And it's anyone. So I'll walk into sometimes our call center and I'll be like, hi guys, what are your top 3 problems today? How do you think we should solve it? Because I don't know it all. I do not know it all. Right? And so it is my job to actually get the people who are doing and living in the problem every single day to come up with the solutions. It doesn't mean that all the solutions that they come up with, we will implement. It doesn't mean that all of the solutions that I come up with must be implemented. No, we need to continue to try and understand the problem and how we can tackle it, right? And then refining, and then, I always think about when a tree becomes a pencil, which is a terrible example when you think about climate change. But the point is that, what it starts out as and what it ends up as, you're like, how did this wood pencil start from a tree? And that for me is kind of how you foster work, because you also have to build trust at the same time, which is that, okay, Ajoke gave an idea today and we took it. That will inspire not just you, but your colleagues to know that, if we suggest something, they will do it too. But if your team is constantly suggesting stuff and you don't do any of it, the next time you go, nobody's going to answer you.
Yeah.
Because they know that you just want to hear the sound of a voice, most likely your own. and say, oh, I did it. It's like, no. We're solving problems here. How are we going to solve this problem? Let's do it.
Yeah, this is nice. This is really amazing. And I can see why I feel some of the energy, some of the wonderful arts that's good out there. But I hear you say that it's always good to understand the root cause of any problem. Innovation comes from understanding first the root cause of the problem. What are you trying to solve for? And then work backward to find out different solutions and take any ideas, like write them down. It mustn't be that one thing will solve the problem, but a major combination of some few things can solve the problem. Enough, I know mentioned that at the end of the day, you might not be able to eradicate the problem. Even if you're able to solve 80%, is good enough. So thank you so much. And of course, I heard one good thing again about your team, how to make your team innovative and build a culture where it's inclusive. You make a decision, you're hearing from the real people that faces this day-to-day problem and let them come up with solutions. It just gives them, and when they come up with the solutions, actually do something to it. This is really profound. Thank you so much. That's some learnings for me. All right. So the first time I met you, I think it was at, the moonshots. And we talked about kids and we talked about AI, how AI is the future. So Bukky is actually married with family in Lagos, right? And she mentioned around how her kids sometimes just stay on the laptop and then go out and watch sun. So we shared a very wonderful time regarding how to bring kids up and how best to maintain what is happening, the AI, the future, and how to balance it. And so you've done really amazing well in that part. I want to just understand how you're able to have a very wonderful career and have a family. That work-life balance is really difficult. What tips would you want to share with us?
One is very difficult. You can't have it all. You can have it all.
Can't we have it all?
So I think it's, I heard this wonderful, like very freeing thing, ironically from my cousin who runs Lagos Moms, which is that you can have it all, but it depends on the season. If you're in a season where your child is sick, it's going to be very difficult to focus on work.
I agree.
So what season are you in? And how do you do an analysis of what season you're in that then makes it look like you have balance? So that's one. Then I think for me, the underlying structure is this. You need a support structure, a support community of people that you know that you can call on at any time to help you with any of the multiple facets that you're trying to balance. Is it work? Is it family? Is it school pickup? Is it activity pickup? Is it even groceries? Like, as in buying market run. As in, I think I have communities for each of these things. Good afternoon, when somebody's going to buy 12. Good afternoon, what are you buying? Please help me buy. Let's crowdsource this work together. In fact, funny enough, for me to be here today, my other support structure where we swim together with our kids, I was like, if I finish swimming, I'm going to be late to be here. And so my support structures, shout out to my support structures. My support structures, basically said, were willing to let my son just swim with them and like they would take care of him at that time. Supports. So now I could be like, okay, so I can leave him there and then I can start getting ready for here. Balance. But it's really because of my support structures. And you really finding the communities, and the networks that will help you. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's just mental. Sometimes it's just, I remember a conversation you and I just had, it was one of, it doesn't have to be like repetitive, but you just need to know that there's somebody I can even call and say, please, am I mad? Or how do I navigate this thing? For me, that's how I'm finding balance. I also have a wonderful spouse who is, phenomenal at helping me balance my day at the start at 8 a.m. Right. And being like, okay, let's focus. What are the things that you have to do today? What are all the things that we have to do today? What are the things that you have to do today as an individual? What are the things that I have to do today as an individual? And then let's figure out how we can share that workload. He's phenomenal.
Oh, that's so nice. That's really amazing. Thank you for sharing. This is even helpful to me. Like you said, am I mad? That's the question you want to ask yourself. But it's not really easy. From what you've said, it's not easy. It's seasonal. Like you have to have the right support. The truth is sometimes when maybe I'm oh yes, of course, I work in the customer success and sales part, and something is going wrong, and my kid like, I can't talk to you right now. And like, mommy, just come out. We want to play. Like, okay, can you just go meet auntie? So I hear you when you say support system. It's not really easy. It's just having to have that support system, get the community where you belong to that could help you outsource some of these things.
And working on not feeling guilty. A gift that one of my best friends gave me when I was pregnant. Actually, after I had delivered, she said to me, every single day, you must do something that brings you joy. So she would call me and she'd be like, what did you do today that brought joy? And then what did you do today that was for you? As in for you. And she was like, it can be anything. I took a bath. It could be, I sat down in the room by myself for 10 minutes. It could be, I listened to a podcast for 20 minutes. She was like, I don't care what it is, but it's gotta be something. And I think the same thing is true about this balance thing. Because in this balance equation, we always talk about family and we talk about work, but we always forget the individual that's doing the balance. So what about you? What about Ajoke? Yeah. What about Bukky? How are you balancing the things that you love and the things that you enjoy and the things that make you whole and the things that attract your family to you and attract your work to you, right? Because if you're running around sort of helping everybody else and you forget to help yourself, you're going to drop. You
lose the essence of you.
Yeah, you lose the essence of you. You start to get sick. You look in the mirror one day and you're like, who is that? I don't recognize that person. You know, for me, that's why one of the funny things, I love playing tennis. My tennis time is me time. Even my son now, as young as he is, knows. Once I've grabbed the gear, high five.
Bye, mommy.
We out. I'll see you when I'm back. Like me time. Me. Because when I am whole, I can
everything will be fine.
Can I help all of you? If I get no problem, I cannot solve. What do you need me to? I can solve it for you. Right? But like, I know that the times when I'm feeling the most drained, if I look back, I've probably not done one of two things. I've probably not prayed and I've probably not had me time, in a long time. And me time can also be prayer time. Like, this is my time to
pray.
Time
God, yeah.
And not to pray for 900 other people that I need to pray for, but to even just pray for myself and just bring myself before God and say, guide me, like tell me, like, am I going in the right direction? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? That really honest nudity with God about yourself can be part of me time. And these things are very difficult too.
I agree.
It's very difficult. And I think that as women, as the more we add responsibility, the more we shrink ourselves. Because we're like, oh, there's so many other people relying on me. Let me sort them out before I sort myself out. Please, dear, be sorting yourself out. It takes practice, but be sorting yourself out.
This is really great. So I hear you say, self-love, self-care, like it's important for you to be whole, to be able to solve the numerous problems.
The way you say it as self-love, it sounds so like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, but the funniest thing is that is essentially what it is. But like, for people who are like, I'm gonna throw up, I would say it's more about like, care for yourself. Like, care for yourself. Like, take yourself out for a treat. Like, I used to love to drive, and I say used to love. Because Lagos. Before you lift your somebody, that's not self-care. That's self-harm.
That's self-love.
I don't know. The self-harm. Because by the time you turn to the person that they hit you or something, you are stressed again. But like, just trying to do something for you. Like, sometimes it can even just be sitting on the couch. And just be like, I'm going to watch nothing. I'm going to look at the plants. Or I'm going to think. I'm going to think about nothing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about nothing. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do right now.
This is really nice. Thank you so much. What advice would you give to a young professional aspiring to build a successful career in marketing and business development?
So awesome. Again, my thing is about values. I think anyone can do anything. You can learn anything. Have a strong work ethic. Like, decide what your own work ethic is.
Yes.
What you want to be known for. I want to be known for solving problems. So tell me a problem, and I can probably figure out how to solve it in a couple of different ways. Doesn't mean that you take my solution, but I can think through it. So that thought process I can do. Be someone people want to rely on. Like when they have a question, like they even will just want to ask you. Because you kind of give good feedback. And I think when you are just starting out your career, learn more, listen more, and take really good notes. When I joined Ogilvy, the CEO at that time said, one of the best things about account managers, is their ability to take good notes. And he said the reason why is because for you to take good notes, you have to have listened very well. But if I tell you to listen well, it has a different reaction than take good notes. So take good notes because it will help you listen well. You will hear the things that were said and the things that were unsaid. You understand the problems to solve and the problems not to solve. You understand where the opportunities are, and where the supposed opportunities are, but actually when you just even think through, you're like, this doesn't make sense. And so I found like those sort of two things, really, really helped me very early in my career. And I think really will help anyone, especially right now in the digital age where, well, not digital, because I would also be the digital age, in the more social media age. As an employee and as a young professional, you gotta listen way more. The opportunities to speak up will always be there. In fact, talking is so cheap. It's so cheap, but like to sit and write, it's difficult. Because you have to think through what you heard and think through what you're trying to solve. That quiet time is a discipline that if people can actually give and embed into their work, you will find that you move miles ahead and miles ahead of your peers, miles ahead of your competition. You'll just be, people will ask you now, what soup? Cut soup.
Cut soup.
You didn't know that it's just quiet time. So yeah.
Thank you so much. So I hear you keep learning, and also take notes, because take notes means there's an exercise in taking notes, right? It helps you learn. It helps you listen more to understand what they're saying, understand what you're taking, and even seeing the things that they're not saying. And then understanding the one that even when you say it doesn't make sense, so you can sieve out. This is powerful. And finally, looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the future, both personally and professionally?
But it's funny. So since COVID, I now only live. Actually, no. Since my dad died, I used to be a master planner. I could plan 5 years in advance. But since my dad died, I've cut that down to 1 year. Since COVID happened, I've cut that down to 3 months.
Nothing must happen.
I'm like, let's just be going. So I think aspirations for myself personally, I think more joy, good health, great health for me and my family members, more wealth opportunities, but really joy, I would think.
Yeah.
More joy and maybe hearing from God. Just those foundations. Because once you have those things, you're very okay. Especially that wisdom one. Once your radar have connected, you're very okay. Professionally, I think the ability to run a sustainable business. That's my goal. I want to run a sustainable business that's profitable.
So, tell us, what are the things you're excited about travel stuff? Tell us about it. Tell us some exciting things to expect or what to look out for.
Yeah. So I think one of the things I'm super excited about right now is our AI bot. So we launched Africa's first AI travel assistant. And I am obsessed with this AI travel assistant because it speaks pidgin.
Wow.
And the reason why this is super duper important is because now we can reach way more customers. I think about my colleague's aunt in Ujumota who often calls him and says, help me buy a ticket. And you're like, oh ma, go on the website. And she's looking at it like, okay, but please, and then just ends up calling you back.
Right.
So how we're using technology to solve multiple people's problems, where they can now access the information in languages that they prefer. So I really, 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 really love that. I love the fact that the AI travel assistant works on your phone. You know, even if you have just a question around like, what are the visa requirements for this? You can go and ask the AI travel assistant.
Wow.
And, you know, it'll give you the answer. That for me is really, really powerful. So our ability at TravelStart, it's always the use of technology to make it easy, stress-free, convenient for our customers to book. And I think this AI bot is going to be quite central.
This is amazing. I'm obviously looking forward to having this. I'm looking guy, I want to travel tomorrow. How is it going to be?
You should try it. You'll be like, I can't pay. Bro, this is how. In fact, I've tried it a number of times. It's always so funny. It's always so funny, but I really, really enjoy it. I
think you should do some voiceover because you have an amazing voice. You've had a lot of experience. We've had a very, very interesting conversation with Bukky today. She is, I don't know if she's probably going to act again in future, but she does very well at it. So thank you. I think you should watch this episode. It's really, really exciting. And like I mentioned, your travel buddy is TravelStart. All you just need to do is your English, speak it the way you are, and they're going to respond to you. And voila, you're out of the country. So thank you very much for staying on the show today. And I would like to say like, share, subscribe to the channel and share. Of course, leave your questions. We can always take your questions and respond to you. Thank you once again and see you in the next episode.